Well, statistics is a field that operates at two levels. One for itself, trying to develop the ideas of how one learns from experience. And at the other level, it helps other fields understand information, how information is coming in and how can it be compressed into something that the human mind can understand. So these days, enormous amounts of information are gathered, but that information isn't knowledge. It only becomes knowledge when people can understand what the pictures or numbers mean. So my own work in statistics has been in both sides. But the one that I think I'm being honored for here, the Bootstrap, is a device that helps people analyze their own data. So typically, a scientist will have an idea of something important to explore. They collect evidence. That usually means a lot of data of one sort or another, but then it's hard to see. It isn't like in the movies where it's clear what the data means. You try and compress it down using some maybe quite elaborate method like Professor Hinton's deep learning. But then once you've done that, you still have to know how accurate that compression was. And the Bootstrap is a device for saying how accurate a statistic is. So typically, you have a political poll, and it says 54% liberal, 46% conservative. How accurate is that? Well, there's formulas for that. But most modern things are much more complicated than that. And the Bootstrap's a way to understand how accurate a number is. And so it's interesting that the same data that tells you something can tell you how accurate that something is. And so the Bootstrap was that kind of thing, and that's why I was pleased with that. I've spent most of my time trying to justify the Bootstrap within the confines of statistics, trying to understand what it is, how it fits into the 200-year history of statistical thinking. It has to follow certain principles. There's some big principles of how one learns from experience, and I've been trying to show that it's not outside those principles, it's inside those principles. Benefits from any particular scientific or any human thing are hard to assess at the time. Statistical benefits are particularly hard to assess because usually what they are is helping people understand more basic things of more direct interest. So somebody is interested in how influenza is spreading, and they have some method of measuring it, and the statistician helps them understand how accurate their method is. Well, the credit, first of all, should go to the people who are studying influenza, and that helps humanity, but the statistician is standing there helping the helpers of humanity. And that, in the long run, I think it's quite important. We live in this world of uncertainty and a lot of challenges to what we know. And the statistics helps you understand just how well or how poorly you're learning something. And I think that's a big benefit. Science is not immune to criticism, and some of the criticisms are valid, but the criticisms are usually expression of disappointment that the science isn't doing as wonderfully as everybody hoped it would. The scientists make mistakes and science makes mistakes. The difference about science is that it has a self-correcting mechanism. Nobody's satisfied with the first answer or the second answer. They keep working on it. The thing about vaccines, for example, that's an example of people with political beliefs trying to undercut what is actually rather clearly established now about what's true. The vaccines work and they don't kill people. Then there's the question, say, a more controversial thing is like climate change. Is there really climate change? Well, you could do it, you could go at it this a lot of ways. Like in the United States, there's all this politics about it. You'll never get the answer that way. Only rational, careful thinking, that is scientific thinking, will ever get you there. So yes, scientists make mistakes, but I can't apologize for them. They're the only way that you're ever going to get to the truth of anything complicated. So in my case, my father, who was a truck driver and deliverer, a smart man, got me interested in numbers and mathematics when I was a little boy. He worked in baseball sometimes, and we had lots of baseball statistics, and that got me very interested in numbers. And I thought I'd be a mathematician. And when I got to school, Caltech, I was a pretty good mathematician, but I wasn't nearly as good as the very best mathematicians. And I realized that my talents, such as they were, might lie elsewhere. And I went into statistics because I love the aspect of statistics of learning from experience. It's a detective game. In the classical detective story, the detective figures everything out from some kind of theory. The better detective stories, there's some clues, and they're slowly, you put the clues together and you understand what happened. And that, I love that kind of thing. So I went into statistics, and it's a slow game. That is, nobody goes into statistics to be for immediate fame or a great reward, but there is fame to a modest sort, and there's certainly rewards. And the rewards, I'd say, for a life in science generally are, it's one of the few areas where you can really use the human brain to the full, everything you can do. Of course, that's true also of writers or artists, musicians, things like that. But there's immense satisfaction. The world of science supports thinking so well. You have wonderful colleagues, you have wonderful equipment, and most of all, you have a tradition of clear thinking, of not doing the kinds of things that lead people wrong in everyday life. Emotions, biases, political biases, religious biases. You just get to think whatever you want to think, and your colleagues will tell you if you're wrong. They'll tell you all the time if you're wrong. There's two hints that we really are still at the beginning of the science story. And one hint is the way things grow. Nature is somehow able to build from inside. If you want a tall pole, nature will grow a tree. You can put a seed in, and that one seed has all the information to make a tree. If we want to make a pole, we have to cut down a tree and rub off all the non-pole parts. And somehow nature knows how to build from within, and we don't know how to do that. And maybe we're getting close, but I don't think so. And the other thing is our minds. Somehow we've learned or we have the ability to put things together in a very plastic way that takes things from one part of our mind to another part. It doesn't have to be programmed into us. New things can come out of this. And I think it's the same question, really, of building from within instead of building from outside. Nature somehow has a trick that we haven't learned yet of how to grow things. A bird, a tree, a human, or a mind. And I would like to see us be able to understand that much better, be able to do that ourselves. So we'll know that we're really getting somewhere if somebody says, I want a chair, and they bring you a little chair seed, and you put it on the ground, and you put some stuff on it, and a few weeks later you have a chair. Then I'll be impressed.